And it is time we turn our attention to the game of this weekend. And yeah, I mean, it has the potential to be one of the games of this series. There's a lot of good games this series, but we do have the on paper matchup of the year. We have the Rugby Championship champions against the Six Nations champions. The two winning sides from either hemisphere taking each other on. Yes, indeed, it is Wales against the All Blacks in the Millennium Stadium, or the Principality Stadium as it now is, in Cardiff, 5:15 p.m. local time on Saturday. This is going to be quite an occasion. Mathieu Reynal is the referee from France, obviously, and then they've Carl Dixon and Christoph Ridley of England on the AORs, and Brian McNeice of Ireland in as TMO. And yeah, this is going to be, well, this is definitely going to be the game of the weekend. It's just going to be a special occasion, I think, from an atmosphere point of view. First of all, they've been saying they've filled out their stadium, and I think they will fill it out. Actually, there has been a slight controversy this week that like the WRU is like, we sold out, and loads of Welsh clubs who have ticket allocations like, no, we haven't. Yeah. We have loads of tickets. You get them. Yeah. But I think they will
move those tickets eventually. That's just some of the panic stuff and some of the old. It's a sellout. We want to build it as a sellout, but we haven't sold out yet. Technicalities. I think they will put bums on seats for this one, and I'm just awaiting the pre-match pageantry. It's always something followed by the haka. The Welsh really singers special. Followed by the haka is always something to behold in terms of that. Turn your volume up. Those covering the game, I think it's Amazon now, and annoyingly in the Prime Video, but want the crowd volume nice and high. Don't want to be hearing commentators drowning out any of that stuff. You just want to hear all of the sizzle that's going to be in the crowd. It's going to be electric before kickoff, and hopefully we get a great spectacle.
Indeed, I mean, much has been made of Wales's lack of personnel going into this game. Obviously, not having any of their non-domestic players. But once this game kicks off, there's enough talent there that this is just going to be quite an occasion, I think. Yeah. There is, from a Wales point of view, there is always that overarching concern. I mean, they have a ropey enough history in November. They obviously, you have to go back to 1953 for the last time they beat the mighty All Blacks. Not even the great team of the 70s did it. Yeah.
That's a nasty enough stat, and we're familiar with how long those can linger on your books when it comes to the All Blacks as well. Yeah. So that's definitely meat for motivation for the side that is available. Obviously, as you were saying, they're missing some Premiership players, some Top Couture's based players as well. Yeah, and you can kind of just see like they tend to struggle in this window, or at least in really throughout forever. Not necessarily like badly struggle, but they've had a few years where they've failed to get any wins against the top sides, or they've traded wins and losses with the top sides. Actually, the last proper November window back in 2018 was the first time they'd ever done a clean sweep. They did Australia, South Africa, and then obviously went on to win that Grand Slam and had that great team that pushed the Springboks all the way in the World Cup semi-final. They were in a very healthy place off the back of that November series, and I think they'll be determined a little bit to do it again. But that said, there is a part of me that can so see the narrative where they just, as they were in the summer, not quite with their full teams, they don't rock up at the pitch, get beaten a little bit in a kind of a shootout of a game, and lose this game, maybe lose another game to the Springboks, and then somehow as Six Nations champions come in completely under the radar into next year's Six Nations, not favoured by anybody even though they're champions, and of course go and win it again. That could be. I can just so see them doing that. But I do actually think that I think this Wales team is for real. I think the PVAC team is for real, and I think they'll give a good account of themselves. Definitely, and I think just in terms of stylistic stuff, like what we've seen from Wales under PVAC, under the Kiwi brand, they've been the attacking all flair, all offense side in the Northern Hemisphere, and we know the All Blacks, fresh from their 100-point tonking of the US, they're in the mood to throw the ball around as well. So weather permitting, I don't know if they're going to have the roof closed over, which is an option, but ideally have a dry track and just shootout. May the best side win once we simmer down after all that kind of crackle pre whistle or pre kickoff. Then hopefully we'll just have a really fun game where both sides are endeavouring to play ball. Top
drawer on offense, absolutely. I mean, the All Blacks do look imperious. They feel very primed.
They also
already
look match sharp.
Yeah,
I don't know what Wales look like.
They have mixed up and freshened up and rested at times their squad, I think, so well this year.
The balance of rest and hunger as well. When you can see guys like Braden Enor get their one chance of the season and light it up.
They look properly fresh. They don't look like the end of a long season kind of. It doesn't have that feel to it at all. It much more feels like an All Black team that is hungry, a little stung by what happened to them in that Springbok series, those two games where they didn't have much to do on offense, or didn't get much off on offense, but it looks to have focused their minds, and I think they are going into this series thinking 5 wins.
That's what they're looking for, all right.
That's who they are, yeah.
This is it. They were vexed enough to suffer 1 defeat this year. They are going to be hard pressed to take another one off them, I dare say. Like for Wales or for ourselves, we'll be facing them in a few weeks' time as well. But this is definitely a hungry New Zealand side, a renewed New Zealand side that we've seen this year. Very much true to their roots, true to form. They are running things with reckless abandon sometimes.
Staying true to the brand as they did last week.
Back your skill set. Yes.
They are heading into, I think, their 11th straight week away from New Zealand.
There you go.
Obviously, they've been without a few players. Aaron Smith, Sam Whitelock has just rejoined the squad, but a few players, Tui Pilato, have headed home. And Scott Barrett as well has headed home.
Right. Yeah.
There's definitely a difficulty that goes with this COVID situation, and it still is very much not normal for them.
Yeah.
And they've handled it very well, from what I can tell. I mean, it doesn't seem to have taken anything out of them. But that's the only thing, is just that they are a long time out of home, and perhaps the light at the end of the tunnel is being seen. But here's hoping they can, batten down the hatches and be fine for the next few weeks. I don't think they're in a total bubble environment, but there is these COVID concerns. Willis Halaholo tested positive for COVID this week.
He would have had a chance to play against the home nation coming. That might have been fun. He's also a useful asset who would have been available to them, in given that they're whinging about their resources being depleted or not being fully released, which is true. But then it's a net result of why is Dan Biggar not playing in Wales?
What more is the point is, why are you making this fixture outside of the test window?
That's true.
That's probably the main problem
as well. Yeah.
But as it is, we're going to get the two teams going at each other in as best a position as we can. Yeah. And we're going to now just take a look at the winning conditions, sort of just from the point of view of each team. We're going to start with Wales. We do have the Welsh squad for this week. It is not as weak as all that, is all I'll say. There's plenty of top quality Welsh and Lions internationals.
It's basically a B team.
It is not basically a B team. There are some very fine players out there. I mean, listen, there is no Dan Biggar.
Yeah.
There are significant weaknesses in the side. There's no Louis Rees-Zammit, as we know.
Yeah. There you go.
The Wyn Jones and Loose Head are just going from strength to strength. Really class player. Ryan Elias and Thomas Francis making up that front row. In the locks, Adam Beard and Alan Wyn Jones, that is full strength, all class.
Yeah.
Alan Wyn Jones obviously captaining the side. Ross Moriarty, who had a very good summer tour.
He did.
In the back
who
row.
Did step up to that Puma physicality.
Basham, who's in very fine form at club level, and Aaron Wainwright, who's in good form as well. Making up that back row. Some decent loose forwards. Huge job for them this week, obviously.
Sure.
Then they've gone for Thomas Williams, whose form is a little spotty, but at his best he is one of. I do really like what he brings to the Welsh side.
I think that is a pretty succinct summary of all Welsh scrummies. Form is a little sketchy, but at his best, beautiful.
And Thomas Williams is very like that. He's a prickly character as well. So lining up against TJ, that's going to be a fun
halfback antics that could be going on.
The
play could be disrupted
between
two lippy halfbacks having a go at each other. Yeah, that's definitely on the cards. That is going to be fun.
And then interestingly, Gareth Anscombe gets his go at the 10 shirt.
Great to see him back. God, he's been missing for so long, and it was such a blow to them going into the last World Cup, because he was a guy they were hedging a lot on, and he was delivering for them.
If you remember, in the run up to that World Cup, they went through this period where everyone they were given the jersey to wasn't given up, whether it was Patchell or Evans or Anscombe or Biggar. Whoever it was who was getting the jersey was adding to it and keeping a hold of it.
Yeah.
And I think they would be they would love it if Gareth Anscombe could grab this again with both hands, like
the way
he did back
Pivac
then.
is playing, because they're distributing off 10, 12, 13. Just they have wingers who distribute as well. They're just playing an attacking brand that kind of allows, when they get a flow going, your 10s can all look very, very good playing in that system.
There's no doubt about that. They've got Johnny Williams and Jonathan Davis. Jonathan Davis interestingly pushed out to the 13 channel, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we've got Josh Adams in there, world class winger. During the Lions tour, is one of the form wingers in the world. Owen Lane is a quality finisher, and Johnny McNichol again, another Kiwi.
Johnny McNichol
against the All Blacks,
awesome character. The man who just always scores against Leinster. He's burned into my brain as a Scarlet. He just always grabs tries against Leinster.
Yeah, and even more history on the bench. The Priestland will be covering the 10 spot as well, so Rhys Priestland's going to get a go.
Yeah.
It's a decent squad. The bench for me is a little concerning. I do like Rhys Carey and Dylan Lewis,
decent option,
Will Rowlands and Seb Davis. I worry about. I've just seen a couple of loose performances from both of them. But we know on their day they can deliver.
This is true. And Rowlands, to be fair, was part of that Wasps outfit that made the final and has improved, been part of what has improved Dragons as well since coming there. So I think like he's got potential to grow into it. He was definitely thrust into the Welsh jersey fairly quick smart from a few good months of form in the Premiership and seemed to drown there last season. But I'm hopeful that he can get up to that pitch with them. But there are a few little absences that are noticeable. But there are a few options. Like Wyn Jones up there against Laulala. Like there's potential scrum pens in that for them.
Yeah, 100%.
I would reckon. Mathieu Reynal definitely going to be eyeballing that. Like some of that wily Wyn Jones and those antics that served him so well in the Six Nations last year and on the Lions tour could pay dividends here.
Yeah. We do know what side PVAX Wales want to be. I think we saw that in the Six Nations. They want to be clinical, they want to be smooth, and they want to be try hunting. And even more than just offensive, it is about hunting tries, and they do find them very well, working their wingers into space, finding space wherever it is, and then just being clinical when they get that opportunity. It is what made them so good in the Six Nations. They were relentless, and even when they were losing other battles, they found a way to get scores.
They painted a picture not dissimilar to what the All Blacks were doing in that first game, the 100th test against the Springboks, that they won despite being dominated everywhere. Like that was very similar to what Wales did to Ireland.
Yeah, and perhaps even Scotland, you could argue, blew them away up front, and they did still manage just to be more clinical than the Scots. They had a couple of big goal line stands, but then on the other end is where they made it count. Their red zone efficiency was off the charts. That is who they want to be, and it's about getting the likes of Josh Adams. They don't have Rhys Sammet this week, but getting Josh Adams in a bit of space, getting McNichol in a bit of space.
Man can be devastating. We know that.
And I'm looking forward to seeing Thomas Williams. I hope we get a good version of him
Williams
driving the pace.
Could be a great pace, hungry pair that haven't seen as many minutes as they might feel entitled to. It would be lovely to see them hit the ground running and get the offense moving, because there's potential for a barnstorming shootout here, and they will feel they are best placed of probably any Six Nations team, not just because they're champions, but
to hang in a shootout
with the All Blacks. Like any other team, you'd think it's very ill advised, but I'm kind of keen to see.
You could argue. I mean, they were the more clinical side. There's no doubt about that. Like Jay Davis back in there on the edge at 13 is an interesting one. I think he showed in the early season for Scarlets just glimpses of what he can be. He was obviously in that team,
certainly,
but
when he gets his hands on the ball, he can be very dangerous out there. It's the other side of the ball that you worry about, and when he's up against strike runners from New Zealand and he has a little less pace than he used to, and he's not quite in at 12.
No question. That is a concern, but from an offensive point of view, it is exciting. I think Johnny Williams is a guy who every opportunity he's had, he's taken it with both hands.
True.
The back row can be explosive, so it is just about sort of maintaining that high pace, striking as best they can off set piece, trying to find weak edges. The All Blacks will have the speed advantage of them, but if they can work one or two strong carries through the centres, a couple of offloads, and then strike off that like they did so well in the Six Nations to find the room for Josh Adams, they just take all kinds of tries. That definitely is the picture for them.
True.
I think the concern is the not so much whether they're as clinical as the All Blacks, but whether they generate as many chances for themselves as the All Blacks do,
and if they can disrupt the All Blacks, because obviously we were fresh from the last time we saw the All Blacks. They were literally offered with no disruption, and we saw just how devastating that can be when they put racking up 100 points easy. So like you can't rely on them to be dropping balls or something here and there, and then you're going to have to make it slow. And part of the Welsh identity, which they did have some of in that Six Nations as well, is that hands in breakdowns and slow ball, slow long tackles that take 6 seconds
can
to
they
complete.
drag TJ into the mire?
Can they make it slow? Sometimes go awry.
Exactly. Make the breakdowns awkward and slow, and that's where Big Alan Wyn Jones obviously has such a role to play.
He does.
But
Adam Beard he has to spearhead all the other guys to do the same thing.
Adam Beard as well. Wyn Jones, such a workhorse, and then obviously the young back row. Just it's a chance to make a name for themselves that they can hang with New Zealand, but it does involve being sort of, and we saw it from an All Black point of view. We saw them against the Springboks at times when they were just trying to be themselves, just really leaving that jackal constantly.
Yeah.
If Wales can read the game well enough to stop them before the line break, because once the line is broken, it tends to be over.
Yeah, no, that's when Will Jordan scores his try.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once the line is broken, it's over.
Yeah.
But if you can catch them before they break the line, they tend to have 2 or 3 support runners
already
running the tracking line, and nobody
running
running the line to clear the ruck.
Yeah.
And that is where Wales can go to work, and they are instinctually that kind of team defensively, and that is where they'll have their ins. If they can win the turnover battle in this game,
and that'll bring the crowd in as a huge factor. The home crowd factor will be huge. They'll be in song, and they are a knowledgeable crowd. They're the Welsh rugby crowd, of course. So massive steals, massive tackles, slow rucks. That even on the defensive side, they will be into positive, proactive plays from all of their guys. So it'll be about knocking that All Black momentum, setting them back a few pegs, and then keeping that red zone efficiency stat that they had so in such a fine fettle throughout the Six Nations. That did go awry, and that, like the summer showing their 2-match series against the Pumas, they were short of their lines and they didn't really play themselves.
Yeah, and they weren't fielding a team as strong as this one, not close to it, and they were losing physical battles, which they can't do this week. I mean, Ross Moriarty, I look at the back row in particular, Basham making the step up, Wainwright, who we know has played at the top level, like all 3 of them can't be swallowed up by the All Blacks, and they're up against quality players like Dalton Papali'i's back in, Ethan Blackadder has been brilliant for the All Blacks. Like that is a serious test for them, just winning those collisions against
the
All
winning
Black
or losing
forwards.
of this game.
Exactly.
Are
they going to survive contacts?
A scrap at every breakdown, and things like line out, like both of these sides actually are pretty combative in terms of defensive line out steals, and they'll both be looking to disrupt each other. Likewise at the scrum, I think I expect more than pure scrummaging driving. I think some binding fiddly sticks and some kind of stuff to try and buy penalties could be in the offing here as well.
Wyn Jones is just a phenomenal scrummager these days. He's more than just the wily man. I mean, he is that too. He's a very, very good scrummager who can hang with the best of them, and he must just be. I think he's on cloud 9 in terms of his confidence, having just been so good on the Lions tour, so good in the Six Nations. He gets through a ton of work, but he's just growing into himself as a scrummager. And there are weaknesses in that All Black front row. I mean, they have no George Bower this week. They have Napo Lalala with Lomax covering at tight head. Like if Wales don't tend to be a team that attacks at scrum time.
But Wyn Jones and Rhys Carey up against Lalala and Lomax, that's a matchup that they might fancy winning over the course of an 80 minutes.
It's just about winning enough battles, stopping the All Blacks on enough occasions, winning the turnover battle at set piece. If they can do all of those things and give themselves enough opportunities, that would be vital for them. And the other area, of course, is the kicking game. It was what really did let them down at times in the Six Nations and lead them to nearly lose so many games where they were the more clinical team.
The big test of Anscombe coming back into the red jersey.
And Thomas Williams, like all of them, just the sharpness of the kicking game on exit and just how they go about their exits might need to change, because the end results have been so poor for them. They've just been giving up opposition attacks often inside the 40 straight off restarts. Their exit game has suffered for that in recent times, and it's definitely going to be an area they're going to have to work on. And I'm interested to see if they will have made any adjustments, or if it'll just be the same kind of tame box kick setup with a guy who's not kicking that well off the base. And
I don't know the answer to that, but I know that kicking will prove important, particularly if conditions are in any way tough out there. If they do have the roof open and that's a factor, then the kicking games of both will become very, very important. And it just remains, it's a bit of an unknown for Wales, but obviously both of these sides, or either of these sides, could be taking a 50-22 if it's there for them. Try and take that on.
They're both heads up teams.
Exactly. So try and look for chances and sniff out the best route to scores, and that's what this Wales team are all about.
That's the main thing. I think the main focus for Wales, obviously it'll be interesting. The All Blacks have a very good defence. Wales' offence is going to be slightly different without their main players. There's obviously no like Nick Tompkins or any of these exciting talents.
Or LRZ.
Exactly. It couldn't be stifled by the All Black defence more so than it ever was in the Six Nations. It's entirely possible. The All Black defence is very solid.
A lot of what their success came from the Six Nations was playing with a width that the teams in the Six Nations don't like playing or don't play with at all, and catching them napping. Whereas the All Blacks are slightly more used to seeing.
You saw what they did against Australia, held their width so well, and that's where it's on guys who played up so well on the edge, like Adam Beard in Six Nations, to make the right calls and the right opportunities. Sometimes to tuck and cut a hard line, and
if
check the
everything's
defence.
Drifting, maybe you just need to straighten towards the goalpost and go.
When you've got the beanpole arms, you can even get a hand free when you do that if you win the contact, and those little plays and those little offensive moments will be determinative, and then just not giving the All Blacks up anything, because even in games where defences have had successes against the All Blacks, it's just the little moments that just turn into tries.
Your own
you look
errors.
at Villy Leroux's dropped restart try before there's even a ruck. That first game against the Springboks, when the dead ball went to deck and then Cody Taylor picked it up, spun around, broke a tackle and then try. That's the kind of thing that they have to be so sharp to. Any bit of broken ball, any ball on the turf, Wales, if they have any chance of winning this game, need to be first to that ball, need to be energised by the crowd and who they traditionally are, which is this wily, difficult team to play. They need to be all of that.
Cardiff needs to be a cauldron, and it needs to be an intimidating sight for the All Blacks.
And the All Blacks need to be punished, and then maybe their loose passes don't turn into tries for them. That's the kind of picture you want to be painting early doors, getting some penalties, heaping the pressure. And because there are some doubts about the All Black multi-phase, that a solid defence can
if all going to plan, it could be Wales and not New Zealand who pounce on a loose ball and go in under the sticks.
That's what they made a name for themselves doing.
Both of these sides have that in their MO, so I
think Josh Adams try is definitely part of the Welsh winning conditions, you would think.
And
just
Johnny McNichol getting his name on the sheet would be definitely potential for that too. I'm excited to see Wales back in the international fold. I hope that they bring all of that energy and all of that combativeness and make it a really, really intense test match, which is what I want to see from the All Blacks. As fun as it is to see them run in 100 try or 100 points, it was
significantly funner watching them take on the box
back
for those two games, and we
100%.
want a similar show from Wales. From the New Zealand point of view, we do have their squad as well. As I say, a little bit weak and perhaps a prop, not necessarily the first choice guys, but Joe Moody in there. I suppose he probably is a first choice guy.
Cody Taylor,
Joe Moody, Cody Taylor obviously is phenomenal. Nepo Lalala. The band is back together in the second row. Brody Retallick and Sam Whitelock.
I do very love that pairing. To be fair, it's just
iconic
awesome.
nearly at this stage. They've gone with Ethan Blackadder, Dalton Papali'i and Artie Savia as the back row, just savage.
Really
probably
good balance.
Probably the form guys.
Well, it's also a good balance. I love when Blackadder in there doing a lot of dirty work. It allows kind of more room for your Artie to roam, and it looks.
It's a little harsh props on Luke Jacobson.
It is.
He's been so good recently, but he's not in this week. But he'll get his chance as the tour goes on, and that's kind of the beauty of this squad.
True.
TJ Paranaro, as I say, getting the shot at 9. Bowden Barrett, there's the old Hurricanes band back together as well.
Bowden Barrett set to make his 100th appearance, I believe, in this one.
Yes, the 11th All Black Centurion, quite an exclusive club.
It is a very exclusive club. And
so worth his place in it. Like, what a player.
Still arguably the best rugby player in the world right now.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a year ago, you would have said that. I mean, I don't know. Like, he's had a good season.
Now it's arguable.
Last year, exactly. He's still just a phenomenal talent. I love watching him play. The odd loose moment, but just so quick, so sharp. Defensive cover play and offensive chaos play, just the best around. So good and well worthy of his 100th cap, and congratulations to him. They've gone with Havili at 12, as we knew they would, their new man. But interestingly, Rico out to the wing and Anton Leonard-Brown in at 13 is their other option. Will Jordan, the try-scoring machine, maintains his place on the right wing. Sever Reese dropped to the bench. And no DMAC either in the squad. Jordy Barrett gets his shot at 15.
DMAC given a rest for later wars. He did do a lot of running in that US game. How many times did he run up and down that pitch when he was siding through?
Personally, I want to see him win the battle with Jordy Barrett. As much as I like Jordy Barrett, I do kind of want to see DMAC in that.
From an ideological point of view, the All Black 15 should look a little more like DMAC and a little less like Jordy.
But then Jordy shows his value when he kicks those clutch kicks to win games constantly. And I'd imagine he'll be on.
DMAC does that too.
He'll be on place kicking duty. I'd say Jordy Barrett, and they've got Mwanga to come in, Brad Weber to come in, Akira Ioane, Tupou Vai, who's been in such stellar form, and then there's the little concern of prop with Tui Nukuafe and Lomax, not the best scrummagers. That's potentially the in for Wales. They've got Taukiaho, who seems to have stamped his place in as legit hooker cover as well. No Dane Coles and no Amua this week. But very, very solid squad. And I think they'll be confident in a couple of areas. I think they'll be confident of their physicality against this Wales team.
They will.
That's something that we saw. I think Scotland and Ireland particularly really get on top of Wales in the physical battle, and then just on their side of the ball when they had it, they were just sending them backwards and sending them backwards and sending them backwards. And if the All Blacks are as physical as those sides at their best, and you know, you look at some of the stars they have in there, the Cody Taylors, who Papali'is, who just put footwork as well as physicality on their carries. That's going to be the main point of focus, is just getting over that gain line, winning those contacts with speed, and then just making sure that Wales can't make shy of their ball legally by just making them go backwards the whole time. It's so much more difficult.
And then the other part of that plan is they picked Geordie at fullback with a mind towards that first game against the Springboks, where he was just imperious under the high ball, because they know that Wales, coming to Wales, you're probably
they just know coming to Europe,
you're going to have to field a lot of high balls, and like even look at even if their tape goes back as far as that World Cup, in terms of World Cup semi-final with Wales and South Africa, they know that Springboks and Welsh, the box kick is definitely a live tactic in this one. It will be all day long, and so having a guy like Geordie back there in the form that he was showing at the end of that Rugby Championship, so that's all part of the plan. Win front up physically, drive them back. When they kick, be secure as a rock under it, and then get your offense going. That's got to be the plan.
I think as far as the adjustments that they have to make, it's only little tweaks. They've been very good so far. We mentioned it in the context of the Wales preview, though, that really the offensive breakdown needs to be a point of focus for this team.
It does and it doesn't, in that, like, it's the beauty of the scores that come is the ambition of the support lines that they run. But
I'm not saying eliminate them. I'm saying maybe one or two runners per play need to be sacrificed to resource the ruck. And I just think that you do need that against these teams. And I think you saw it in the Springboks. They lost the ability to score on multi-phase. Mostly because they were just they just couldn't build over a number of phases because they were losing the rucks. And Wales, while not as good at the box as this, are the kind of team that'll do that damage to you if you're going to behave that way, and they could catch you behind the gain line. You're away from home. I just think they do need to focus on that ruck area.
You're probably right.
Renewed emphasis on it. You know, they got Whitelock back in the team. They got Retallick back in the team too. Just class enforcers.
Dalton Papali'i can smash a ruck or two if he wants to.
The back row do love running in the loose areas, but I think a bit of the hard work needs to be done here as well, just to win this game. It was
a good point that I think Rob Kearney was making about the Bulls in the context of the South Africans adjusting to European rugby, and he was talking about exactly about that, going like they're going to be shocked by how little separation exists in rugby between ball carrier and ruck resourcer. It's just very, very tight. It's tough to get in on that, and therefore the multi-phase comes. Like, it's going to be an adjustment for them. It's probably an adjustment for the All Blacks too. They're aware of it. It's just going to be a different kind of game, different kind of track to what they were facing in the Southern Hemisphere. So probably an adjustment with that in mind. No bad thing.
This is a Wales team that is without Ken Owens, Tipperick, Liam Williams, and Dan Biggar. So that is
Louis Rees-Zammit.
Say that again.
Louis Rees-Zammit.
But Louis Rees-Zammit.
He's probably not a ruck resource.
What I was going to say was just that is kind of the mental spine of the team. Minus Alan Wynne-Jones, who's the one there. And I definitely think if you're the All Blacks and you're looking to make sure that you win this game, you target and get on top of and nullify Alan Wynne-Jones, and you track him around the field, and you track him at line out, and you don't throw to him at line out. You just don't give him a chance to make plays. Hound him on the defensive line out, and on the offensive line out, go where he isn't. Make him a non-factor in the game. Whenever he gets close to the ball on defense, if he's looking to put a hand in, you've two guys ready for him. Like if the All Black forward pack can take Alan Wynne-Jones out of the game, it'll go a long ways to just knocking back the confidence of a somewhat inexperienced Welsh team.
Indeed, and especially if they can apply scoreboard pressure on top of that through threes at the beginning, which they will kick through Geordie's boot, I'd imagine. But work yourself into positive territory, take your gains, but then obviously be ready and willing to strike, which is not something they need to be told to do very often.
No,
they are
indeed,
ready and willing to strike.
One of the things that you've cited about this All Black team in the past, since really the discovery of Havili, and I actually think what they haven't gone with this week with the Havili-Rico partnership, but they do have the ability to bring Rico in off the edge. What they have in that midfield is such a speed advantage over everybody. Bowden Barrett and Havili, and then possibly you get Rico in. ALB is no slouch either, don't get me wrong, but there's just tremendous amount of sort of back three level, winger level speed in that midfield area. And then you're up against a centre partnership of Jay Davis, who has been way more comfortable at 12 in recent times, and Johnny Williams, who's been kind of in and out of the side but isn't the quickest guy either. that is where they're going to have to go hunt in that Welsh midfield to just overload it with speed, quick runners, blowing Wales away. They could have a field day on that sort of midfield edge in and around the 13 channel.
Well, that was what they did pretty much to the US last week. Obviously a much easier challenge, but it was like the speed difference once it got 2 passes deep into the back lines where it was just man for man. Like, there are numbers there to cover it, but not if DMAC just runs around you. There isn't, and it's like they have that in their locker. Like, we were saying earlier that like when they line up Bowden, Havili and Rico with whomever on the back three, that is the quickest midfield you'll ever see in World Rugby. It's so fast, lightning fast, and they do still have that even with ALB rotating in. They will try and be the quicker side, albeit a very quick Welsh side they're facing.
Find the edge. Find Jay Davis on the edge.
Overloading him is the big
absolutely
big job
overload him.
Offense,
I mean, it's harsh on him, but he's lost a step of pace. He's not as comfortable defending the 13 channel as he once was. And I never thought he was like 100% comfortable.
It's already a difficult channel to think. Like from Wales's job is to try and make it not about the 13 channel, to try and make it at source and at set piece or at ruck. It's already gone to pot for them, so it doesn't matter. And then Jay Davis isn't overloaded and he can guide his troops and whatnot. But from the All Black point of view, it's about creating and we're just going to run 2 runners at either shoulder on Jay Davis and have a guy at the back.
Exactly. You do a little screen to work Bowden a little wider, and then you have ALB or even Havili on his outside, and then Rico coming in off his blindside wing, all overloading that channel. It's just going to be too much for Wales to deal with, and they'll find an edge and they'll find a try, and they don't need to be told how to find tries once they break the line. Their support play, it's too clean, too good. They just don't make mistakes when they make line breaks. I haven't seen them butcher one all year. I don't expect them to do it this
The only times they butched them was in some towards the tail end of some of that Springbok stuff where they make a half break and then be isolated.
They weren't
risk.
They never quite straight butchered a line break though. I don't think.
Not properly.
Once they do break your line, they do tend to be lethal. And that's very much the MO in this game. And I think they'll back themselves from a speed and physicality point of view, from just an athletic standpoint against this a little deprived Welsh side, to get on top of them, to score tries, to win the contacts, and then on the defensive end, because they're winning contacts, to just make it that bit more difficult for what the Welsh are trying to do, and then to cleanly win the shootout by about a score or 2.
That's the plan, all right. They need to be a little wary about scrum time, which is just always a caveat to All Black optimism for me. I'm not madly enamoured with their prop stocks, and I do think that Wales have the edge in that set piece. So mission, lock it down, move on to somewhere else, make it not about that. Something that very often Wales are the side coming in thinking
Wales will likely oblige to that. Like they just so rarely go in hungry to attack your scrum. It's not who they are.
It's true. It's more likely that you'll see kind of Bledisloe series scrummaging where it's locked down, it's in, it's out, we're moving on.
Exactly right.
The ref saying balls there. Well, it is a French ref, so that might change that, and it's something the All Blacks should be aware of. Like if their tight head has gone down, it's unlikely that the French ref will say no, balls there, use it. He might just give a penalty to your opponents, which is not something they see all weeks, but little caveat to attach to it. But I think on balance I have a little more faith in the All Blacks than Wales to get this one done this week.
Oh yeah, I would think so.
I just think they're in great form, and I don't know that Wales are in any kind of form.
No, it's hard to know what form they're in, indeed.
But it's tough because the home field advantage and the Millennium Stadium thing and the noise, all the factor.
The Welsh offense is very good. From the All Black defensive point of view, just a few final notes for them would just be to keep their width. Make sure that Wales can't get to the edge. All they want is Josh Adams in space.
So defend like you did the Wallabies.
Exactly right. It's such a similar challenge, and then they can punish loose passes then from that position, as we know well. But defend with width, pressure building from the inside, not from the edge. Pressure from the inside to push up and force Wales. Just give Wales nowhere to go. And then obviously the constant note with the All Blacks. Resource the spot around the ruck, because Thomas Williams that's a classic sneaky Welsh try where your defence is on top and then all of a sudden you just don't resource around the ruck and Thomas Williams does a little chip and go and all of a sudden Wales have a try out of nowhere. That's something that the All Blacks have to be mindful of.
Pants down moments around the ruck.
Oxberger did it to them last week.
It happens all the time. It's part of it, just the way their defensive system works just leaves that there for running scrummies. So the Welsh will be looking to target there. But on balance I think the All Blacks are the better team coming into this on paper and on form, and I'm going to back them to edge it, but I think it will be very, very tight, because I think that home field advantage and that kind of cauldron atmosphere will weigh something into it, and I'm kind of expecting a bit of a really, really good contest here.
Yeah, I don't know quite that I'm expecting that. I'm hoping for that. I think, listen, I think any side can take confidence out of what the Springboks did to the All Blacks, but I just continue to be very impressed with what the All Blacks are doing. I think they're learning, they're getting better. I don't think the Welsh defence is going to be able to do to the All Blacks what the Springbok defence was able to do.
Yeah.
And then I see them scoring tries, and I'm not sure that I see Wales winning enough contacts to score enough tries on the other end. I think they'll score 1 or 2, maybe 3, but I think New Zealand will score 5, maybe 6. So I do think that just on the I just don't know if I back the Welsh defensively to hang with that All Black speed and tempo. And as much as the occasion matters, once the whistle blows on a dry track, these All Blacks will just rise above it, and I think they'll win. And I think if I was to guess a score, I'd say, I don't know, I'm going to go high. Like, I'm going to go, something like 45-20.
I'm going to say it might look something similar to that Japan-Australia game and be like 30-something, 20-something.
That's probably more realistic than 45. Wales to do a little better than concede 45, maybe.
Yes, I would.
Although, they are very good, these All Blacks.
This is true. This is true. Who you got? Let us know in the comments down below. Any of our Welsh subs very vexed that neither of us backing the Welsh. Let us know down in the comments below. But yeah, I suppose with that we will move on and park the international footy for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And couple of good games, particularly that game to look forward to, and plenty to look forward to in the weeks to come. Thank you for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you enjoyed that video, please be sure to like and share with your friends. And if you'd like to hear more of what we have to say, please be sure to subscribe and click that bell so you get notified when we upload our videos. And please join the comment section as well. We like to get a fun conversation going here.